Why, yes, I am.
There it is.
Yeah.
All right.
I didn't want to record that other stuff.
Yeah.
Gotta keep it. We gotta keep that off air. We gotta
Yeah.
keep that off air.
Off the record. All right, YouTube. All right. 3, 2, 1. With the programming, I'm Chase Ingram.
I'm Captain America.
And along with me is Bill Grundler.
Wolverine.
And the games are over, and now it is our turn to analyze the programming of the 2021 CrossFit Games. Bill, it's damn good to be back.
Dude, how do you even have a voice, my friend?
Well, if you listen, it's not as quite as smooth as it. It's a little raspy. It was that was the most I've called consistent end to end in the 10 years I've been doing.
Yeah, totally. No, you guys, we were talking about this a little bit off air. The coverage that you and Sean were doing, and then the coverage that Joel and Tanya were doing, like, dude, you guys got your asses handed to you.
I am not complaining at all after watching what Joel and Tanya had to go through.
Yeah.
All of the age groups
for
3 days, and then team events. And like, I had to do teams with Sean on Thursday. And they were the longest events, I feel like.
Longest events. They were so long. Wow. Yeah.
That was tough. So by Thursday, I was kind of, you start to feel it coming. Like, it's like getting cold. You get like scratchy throat. You're like, shit.
Here it goes.
Here it comes.
We go.
Here comes my squeaky voice. So, I had to manage a lot of it. And I got I got like some care packages of throat stuff. And that helped me get to the end of the week. But I don't know. I did. Yeah. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of fun. I had a great time. I hope everybody else did. It was really cool. I thought the games was great.
Yeah.
What's funny is like there was a lot of people there, not the most ever.
Right.
Still getting through things. And I don't know how much they were able to sell out in the Coliseum because it wasn't sold out, but maybe there's still COVID restrictions going on.
Yeah.
Right.
There was way more people than you see at the Olympic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Then I had a realization. I was like, what we're missing? We're missing our entire international crowd.
Yeah.
Right. And so that always brings a really unique flavor. Like you get that European, Icelandic stuff, and then the whole Latin American community starts to come up.
Yeah.
So I think that was, that 20-30% that adds to it just a different vibe.
Totally.
Still a great time. But I can't wait. We're not even like 4 days removed from the games. Like, I can't wait for next year.
Well, it was a great.
Everything is back to normal, and
that was a great jump start in, man. It was. I watched all of it on the YouTube stream, and it was good to see people in the crowds. It was good to see the athletes back out on the floor. It was good to hear everyone's voices again. It was good to see, it was a that touch of normalcy, which is nice because it's still, it's weird here in the U.S. You look around the rest of the world and there's all kinds of weird stuff still happening. Like,
it feels like we're on our way based off of the news.
I know.
Love the news.
We just keep it to the programming. Let's get off the politics.
Before what was cool as well, I was there. I went around through Vendor Village and I got to see all our people.
Oh yeah,
I got to see all our partners. So it's really sweet. And the one thing I did miss, other than you, which I missed the most while I was out.
Thanks, dude.
I freaking dropped the ball and didn't bring any of my Bub singles with me. So this was the least amount of coffee I have ever drank, ever. One, because I didn't have you just like.
Because that's all. All right, that's my role. I'll take that as my role.
Let's go see if Starbucks is still open. I was like, Bill, it's 10 o'clock at night. But the other one is that I have come to find that unless I have Bub's Naturals with me, I'm really not into coffee.
Oh, wow. Really?
I had maybe a cup maybe 2 in the morning, and it wasn't every day. And so
Blasphemy, dude. That's blasphemy.
well,
How
that just
dare you?
shows you
How
how
dare
good
you?
Bubs Naturals is and how much it's changed my coffee game. So I didn't bring my MCT oil powder. I didn't have my collagen protein. I forgot my gummies. It's like I forgot everything that was great at home. And by the end of the week, I'm I'm like a heroin addict, just like
You're all
scratching.
creaky.
I'm like, oh, where is it? Where is it? So I'm glad to be home. I'm glad I got my Bubs back. And if you guys want to get Bubs in your life and to become a Bub methamphetamine with
a bufetamine,
there you go. How many
a bufetamine addict?
can we make up on this show? A bufetamine addict. Go to bubsnaturals.com. Use the code GET20% off every order every single time, and really do get into the Double Bub Club. That's the MCT oil powder in your coffee mixed with the collagen protein, and you are all set for the rest of your day. I ran into Nathan out there, so it's really cool to catch up with him. He's always been working with us from Bubs. And then I got to go to the Element 26 booth. And I ran into our boys, and they're like, "Hey, man!" And this was Tuesday.
Okay.
And I go by the booth. I was like, "Sean," because I want to take Sean. It's like, "Sean, you got to try this thumb tape."
Yeah.
I walk up, and they're like, just like, you know, it was cool to finally meet the guys, and then they went, "Dude, we're out of thumb tape." I was like, "It's Tuesday. How are you out of thumb tape already?" Well, I'll tell you why. Because the thumb tape is unbelievable. It sticks to your thumb without leaving a sticky residue. It's easy to tear. It's easy to apply. And there's a reason why they were out of it. But they've got one new thing that they gave me, and I have it right here. They just made it. It's called Rip Repair. So, you know, like,
oh, yeah.
So it's new skin on steroids, right? It sticks. It applies zero pain.
Oh, dude, because new skin or anything like that is like needles going into your cut.
Zero. So no alcohol pain, nothing like that. So when you like burn your hands underneath like washing your soap and then you apply like a new skin.
Yeah.
If you guys ever use it, it's basically like super glue.
Right.
And back in the day, we're talking about like back in 09 days, we used to use super glue.
Hell yeah.
It became a
Hell
thing.
Yes.
But it doesn't burn, and it's still on my hand.
Oh, that's what it is.
A week ago.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and it is legit. So if you guys didn't get their grips, of which you should, and you ended up ripping your hands, they have this stuff called Rip Repair, and it will cover those rips in your calluses and basically just put a Band-Aid on there that sticks to your hand and does not move. And it heals it underneath. You don't get the burning feeling. So go check that out. It's something they have brand new. But if you want to get some of that, you want to get the thumb tape, the grips, the knee sleeves, the weight belts, the new Rip Repair, go to element26.co and use the code GET15 for 15% off all your U.S. orders. And then Adam came by the booth.
Oh, nice.
Dude, it was great to meet him.
Yeah.
Looked nothing like I thought he would look like. I don't know why. I've never talked to him on the phone. Like you talked to him. Like he's your guy.
Yeah.
And he came by and I was like, "Oh, you're
a hi regular guy with an accent."
Hi regular guy. Yeah, exactly. I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that." And I don't know if this is out yet, but he handed me the WOD-proof wrist strap.
Oh yeah. No, it's out. Yeah.
It's out? Okay.
Yeah.
So the WOD-proof band.
Yeah.
And it tracks everything, just like another any type of like workout tracker, heart rate tracker, all this other stuff. Rep tracker.
That's the cool one. That right there is the piece.
Tracker.
Yeah.
Crazy. But I can't wait to try this. I was supposed to call him and just like get all hooked up and set up with that. But it was really cool to meet Adam. It was nice to see all our partners, and it was really cool because it was like seeing you talk to with like on Instagram or social media for years, and you finally get to meet each other. So that was a really cool experience at the game. So, I just, it was just neat to meet everybody.
No, I did. It's that one of the cool things about the games, other than just the competition itself, is all of that's the chance for all of the vendors to come around and kind of showcase a little bit. And then when we have our partners like that, we get to hang out with those people. we kind of come together. We have our, our Get With The Programming family. They're part of that because they help support us in what we're doing. And we love to support them because of what they are and who they are. And then to actually be able to sit down and meet them like that and hang out with them. And I mean, when it all comes down to it, the cool thing is everyone's a CrossFitter.
Yep.
We're all a bunch of CrossFitters, and you get a group of CrossFitters together. It doesn't matter what they do. You could be a college kid. You could be a doctor. You could be the WOD-proof app designer. You could be the Get With The Programming, blabbers over here, whatever. We all can hang out. And I mean, what a really cool group of people. And those are great people. I mean, and that's why we are happy to partner up with those guys, with all three of them, Bubs, with Element 26, and with WOD-proof, because man, they're just good people, good things. And we want to make everybody better. It was cool. What all three of those things do. It
was cool to talk to him. It was cool to it's really nice because we have a very good two-way street in terms of what we do for each other.
Yeah.
So as much of appreciation we have for them, they have for us. So I love who we get to work with on this show. So it's an honor and a privilege. So thank you guys. It's great to see you.
Thanks, guys.
And you know what? The honor and privilege is all ours. We get to talk about the 2021 CrossFit Games programming.
Let's do it.
15 events. Crazy.
Yeah.
We had cuts, which everybody lost their shit on before the game started. And it was funny. It's after event 9, I'm like, what do you think now? And obviously one of the big things we were looking at, you and me, was if you're going to have cuts, you got to make sure it's an appropriate test so you can say you are in this position, clearly defining where your fitness level is.
Yeah.
As well as we advance. And we'll get there as we go from 1 to 9 and then 1 to 10. But I thought it was really funny how everybody was upset. And I'm like, you guys must be new to CrossFit, or you just hated 2019 so much that you think it's going to be the same thing.
Totally. Well, I think that left a really bad taste in everyone's mouth because of all the fallout.
Because I did not approve of the way those cuts happened, because you started cut not too soon, because the first cut was a great test for what it was.
Right.
It wasn't really a test of fitness, elite. It was a test of who should be.
Right. No, 100%. That was a very unique year because there was no way around it. You had to cut that way. So that
also out of Dave Cash's control.
100%. Yeah.
On Dave is Dave did not make that decision. In fact, Dave did not like that decision. He won't say it publicly.
Right.
Right. But he knows how to test.
Yeah. Right? But you made one of the best comments you made at the games up to this was, I mean, it always depends. I don't think it's the final event that makes the cut. It's all the events that lead up to that to make the cut, And up to this point, we had 10 events before we got to the cut. And that amount of events and how it was all put together was longer than some of the games prior to that.
The first 5 CrossFit.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's huge. I mean, it's okay. If whether you like the cuts or don't like the cuts, I get it, but up to that point, we know who's supposed to be there now.
Yeah, we used to crown the fittest on earth
without a competition
or less events.
Yeah,
5 years, and no one said shit about that.
Right.
There were cuts on all those years.
Yeah,
7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Yep.
The most events ever programmed was 10.
Yeah.
And they had cuts the whole way through. And I don't see anybody complaining about James Fitzgerald.
Right.
Lee Gentry.
Right.
Or Jason Kalipa.
Totally. So I think that that was
complaining about that.
That was a huge statement.
Miko Salo.
Yeah.
Graham Holmberg. Nobody's complaining about that. And so it's just, people are spoiled.
But the design was great. I mean, did it cut it down? Yeah, totally. Did it still keep the excitement? Absolutely. And and this is a show that I think we'll have to bring Brian back onto again, because talking about the the scoring of the event? Would it change? How would it change? Because we've done that with, like, with the other games. I think this one is unique enough because we have a lot of events to talk about. So I think we need to keep it to the events on this one. But like the idea of, one of the things that I always complained about when you cut before was like, all of a sudden, well, if you cut it, now you get towards the end and it's hard to make those advances anymore because you just don't have the points unless you spread those points out appropriately. And just like, you were mentioning in the broadcast, the points changed when they went to 30.
Right.
And then it changed when it went to 20.
Right.
Which is appropriate because it's needed to be that way so that you can still have that difference. You can still make your climbs up and down the leaderboard based on that, not
or get penalized. Like you shouldn't get to the top 20 and just be like good to go because the points.
Right. So
it was cool. All right. So let's get into it. What we're going to do is we're going to go 1 through 15. We're going to go through the nuts and bolts of every event and just discuss them as we go through. And at the end of 15 events, we'll give our assessment of how the programming was, some little thoughts on it, good, bad, or in between, and we'll get going.
Let's do it.
So event number 1, 1 mile swim with fins that they got told the night or day before, and then a 3 mile kayak. That was the paddle event that Dave Castro alluded to. And when this got announced, I love the kayak as a new element, a little test, like something different, right? I did not want to see another prone paddle.
Yeah.
I know Dave says he doesn't like stand-up paddle boards for some weird reason.
I think that's silly. He'll put in slam balls, but he won't put in stand-up paddling.
It's too skill-based, and it's it's less of a test of fitness and more about that. I was like, well, we just did freestanding handstand push-ups, so.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't agree with that argument. If he doesn't like it, fine. I just think it's a thing. I mean, and here's the thing. Programmers, they will have their preferences and their mark lying through there. I mean, because he doesn't like doing that, we're not going to see him.
Like, honestly, he just says, like, I don't like them. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you don't have to over explain it. You can literally just be like, because I don't like them. I think they're gimmicky and I don't want to program them. I'm like, oh, fine.
Yeah.
You don't have to program them. So the kayak was cool. After it unfolded, like the swim with fins, like that was a huge advantage for good swimmers.
Yeah.
And no advantage for bad ones.
Totally. Well, yeah, but okay, you're a swimmer, man.
Swim.
Yeah. But
if you don't know how to use them, like it doesn't help you stay with the good ones.
No. In fact,
great swimmers.
When Dave made the announcement. So I heard, I'm watching the announcement on the video, and the 1 mile swim and the kayak, and you get to use the fins. The first thing I thought was, all that's going to do is hurt the bad swimmers, because what are they going to do with fins? They're going to rely on fins. And what you get out of your kick is you get like 40. It's like, I think the percentages is like you get 20% of your speed off your kick, but you use like 60% of your energy with your kick.
Just suck oxygen out of your body.
They're the biggest muscles you have. They're bigger than your shoulders, man, and your lats. So it's like, if you think you're going to be kicking your way for a mile, yeah, good luck.
Yep.
Good luck. So I got worried when I heard that, because the good swimmers, they're just, all that's going to do is keep their feet up. They'll do their 2-beat kick on that long swim. You saw Yonakoski. You see a big splash behind his body. It's just enough just to kind of keep it. It makes that nice, smooth 2-beat kick nice and easy. They get more out of it without doing anything. But I got worried when I heard that.
Yeah,
I got worried.
It was here's what's funny is that, look, listen, in programming, there are 3 different domains we train with: weightlifting, gymnastics, and monostructural. And so many people were getting annoyed by hearing the term monostructural.
Oh,
and it was
hilarious
to me.
If you say that one more time.
I was like, you don't bitch when you hear weightlifting. You don't bitch when you hear gymnastics, because you're used to hearing that. Yeah. I'm sorry if you've never heard the term monostructural, but that is what it is. It's either M, W, or G.
Yep.
That's it. That is CrossFit's programming categories. You have moving your body in space, gymnastics, moving in your body with an external
object,
weightlifting, and then cyclical repetitive movements that can be sustained for a long period of time, i.e. running, swimming, biking, skiing, double unders, and whatever other one they had in there. But like, that's called monostructural.
single stroll.
Yeah. So sorry, but that's what it's called. And if you don't like that term and you wanted me to say something wrong like cardio,
yeah,
because it's all cardio.
I saw that comment. Did someone say you need to call it cardio?
No, I feel like they thought that I just heard that word for the first time, and
it's aerobics, bro. It's aerobics, bro.
So it was just funny. It's funny. Yeah. And so our goal here is to educate you, and this is the education part. That's what it's called.
I will say this though. I will say this. I was totally cool with how long it was. I was totally cool on the distance,
bro, it was
swim
long.
and the kayak and all that stuff. But I was kind of shocked actually that they did that style of kayak. Like
you mean the seated one?
That was the one that you rent when you go down to Puerto Vallarta and you want to like go.
I would say the same thing. I was like, hey, you look at some of these people, it's like clearly no one's been to Cabo.
Well, I know, totally. Yeah. It's like
I was like, why are you making this look so hard?
I mean, you know, we throw these guys on a high-end prone paddleboard. We throw these guys on high-end road bikes. We throw these guys on high-end cyclocross bikes, and then we give them the Volkswagen Bug of kayaks to race in. And to say that it's it's too technical, we don't want to make it too, like, we've already had them fall down on a prone paddleboard. Why would you not?
Oh, you mean them like more speed kayaks?
Have you seen the kayakers in the Olympics?
Yeah.
That kayak is badass. That's what they should be racing with, because now you can race. That other thing, it's like they're cruising around with their little little air blow up things on their arms trying to not sink.
Yeah. I think of it like the evolution of cycling though at the games, right? The first bike they got was like a mountain bike.
Right? And I thought about that.
And then eventually we got to the clip-in crit. I think if we threw that at them in 2011, that would have been I see what you're saying. I was like,
dude, the prone paddleboard, man, those were high-end race boards. Yeah, I've raced those things.
Stuck in the paddleboard if you roll. Like if you roll, like nobody, they're gonna drown in the ones you're talking about.
Nah, I have a little bit. They'll be fine. I'm not. There was a comment that one of my members made. They were like, okay, did they know about the kayak? And I said, no. They found out the night before. And they're like, okay. It seems to me that if someone has never been down to Cabo or never rented one of those things, that they're at a massive disadvantage. And so are you testing fitness if you are that technical of a disadvantage? Not to say that it isn't usable, but why not tell them? Why not announce this one? Everyone knows we're going to swim, so they've already been swimming. But why not announce something like this that is so different?
Yeah.
To where they could at least get their hands on it, because now you can have them race because they've tried it. If they're trying it for the first time, I mean, you saw how long it took them in that kayak,
right?
Like if you've never done it, and it's not a bad comment. It's actually a decent comment. And I think for me,
to practice.
Yeah, exactly. A day. That's the hard part.
I also think that's why it was such a basic kayak, because it doesn't require any skill. It just requires work.
I mean, I agree, but just like a swimmer, that like if you're not a good swimmer, you're going to be doing a lot more work. As you saw the people that were paddling those things, if they had never been in a kayak, they didn't know what the hell they were doing in those kayaks.
Yeah.
I think program wise, I think programming is fine. The difference I would have changed programming on this is I would have announced it sooner. Oh, I would have said like whatever, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever they want to pick. Yes, you're going to be doing this. Here's the kayak you're going to be using. At least that way they have a way to prepare for that, since it's something that's specific. But I think the event is rad. Yeah, because awesome. I think you need to throw the long shit at these athletes like this. And that was cool.
Early because it just set the tone. And they do this a lot when they open the It's like something you would never really train for or prepare for until after it's done. So
Yeah, totally.
all right, so we're looking at 2 different monostructural movements between the swim and the kayak. It was an hour to an hour and a half, so really high volume. Really, I mean, we can't put a rep scheme to it, but it's high volume work.
Yeah.
And I thought it was good, nice and
I
long.
liked it.
Monostructural to start, and then we come back to event number 2, and we do this odd object muscle up chipper, where it was a sled drag, and the weights they have on the side isn't like, it was heavy.
Yeah.
Like, that sled drag was hard.
Yeah.
Then when you got close-up views, you're like, oh. So it was a sled drag forward, 5 pig flips, 12 ring muscle ups, 12 bar muscle ups, 12 bar muscle ups, 12 ring muscle ups. I could have said 24. Pig flip, sled drag. So it's really, this is not, some people called it a triplet, and I was like, this is a chipper.
Totally.
It's a pyramid.
It's chipper. An up and down chipper. Yeah.
It's an up and down chipper, and the ring muscle up and barn muscle up are not the same movement. Like, well, they're the same movement, but they're not. They are different.
100%.
Right? Some people are good at rings and bad at bar, and vice versa. And some can do one and not the other. So I consider those 2 different movements, which is why we had a chipper. So we have 2 heavy odd object movements coupled with 2 challenging gymnastics movements. So in the first event, we've done 2 monostructural, 2 odd object weightlifting, and 2 gymnastics.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, time cap was 12 minutes. So this is a 10 to 12 minute time frame. It was a lot of pulling.
Oh man, ton.
Like the first 2 events was just like pull city, mile swim, 3 mile kayak. The drag wasn't. Now I want your opinion on this on the drag.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of squatting below parallel at the games, but there still was a lot of lower body use. And so when you look at a sled drag, what it does to low body and the way they had to do it, I almost put this in the category of squat, like a squat push, because of the way they're pushing forward, stabilizing the rings, and just using only lower body to get it done.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they chose to do however they were going to hold it up top for like the stabilizing on the push part. I will say this. Yes, maybe there wasn't a lot of, in this one, you're not squatting below parallel, but the glute work between, I mean, if anyone has done any sled drags of heavy weight where you're pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, you're not squatting down all the way, but your ass is on fire.
Still lower body intensive is kind
totally. Oh, 100%. And even with the pig flips.
That does that. Like if you just said they didn't go below parallel, I'm like, okay, yes, but yeah, and the pig flip, right? It's like,
yeah, I mean, posterior chain, backside, glutes are your giant drivers on this. And I think that that's something that's really cool is, yes, it's heavy, but you use those large muscle groups, and then you go to something that's very technical with the gymnastics right after that, where in a decent number, I mean, you look at that, like that number, and man, it was awesome. 12 muscle ups, not a big deal.
Right.
But do you do that knowing that you have 36 more to go and you have to get off? So you can't let yourself get into like a groove.
Yeah.
You have to come down. Like you got to turn on the bar muscle up. So like there's those breaks that force the lactic acid on that rest. You drop your hands, all of a sudden you disengage from the workout a little bit. Right. I thought it was such a unique twist to put this together, how you went, and it was very far spectrum, very, very heavy, very technical gymnastic.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Like we hit all 3, I would say almost outlier bases.
Yes.
Monostructural wasn't just a casual run. It was something high skill monostructural, swimming and long.
Yeah.
Object really heavy, sled pull and pig flips, and then really high skill, high volume on the gymnastics.
Yeah.
It was all pull. Now it's 3 different types of pulls. Like pig flip is, below the waist, almost a curl up, where the ring muscle up is above the shoulders, pulled to the waist, and the bar muscle up is not as much of a pull as it is kind of it's a pull, but it's more of a straight arm.
Yeah.
Lat. And coming off the swim in the kayak, like that's going to throw you for your loop. Like I said before, like we've already hit all of our 3 different modalities between weightlifting, monostructural, and gymnastics. We did it, as you said, in a very high skill, unique kind of way, which is classic for the CrossFit Games to test people like. And then we've hit a long 90-minute time domain, and then the 10 to 12-minute classic CrossFit time domain.
Yeah.
And then we moved to our first single modality test, which was that 550-yard sprint. Straight monostructural, running, full blast, anaerobic, just go.
Yeah.
But you're going to go like full go because at that distance, even at a 400, right? Like you can't just send it from the start.
Right.
But now you have a different time domain, a different test, our first single modality in event 3.
I thought it was unique because what do most people train at? They're going to train at 400.
Yeah.
And you're right. They're going to train at a track, and they know that they're going to the games. They're not going to have a track, but they will usually do 400 meter repeats, or they'll do 800 meter repeats.
Yeah, whatever. Right.
550. Though, and this is what Dave always does. It's like just off what you would normally do. So now your normal pacing isn't the same.
Right.
Because you can send, just like what you're talking about, if you're doing a 400, you can send the first 300 meters on a 400, and we've been watching in the Olympics. All of a sudden, that person that's been leading is now third, fourth, fifth, and they fall back. You know, and here you have that extra 150 meters. So, like, how you need to pace that is unique because it's such a weird number. It's a weird number, but the races were great, and watching them having to go very, very long, then very heavy, and then all out sprint was, I thought, again, like we're hitting all those outlier pieces, on day one. Right. On day one. That was cool.
That was cool. I forgot to announce the winners. We usually do that.
Oh yeah.
Event 1, Yonakoski.
No way. No.
In event 1, Tia Claire Toomey, which was just, yeah, just awesome. Just crushed everybody. And she was so fired up too. I was like, God bless. Everybody's in trouble.
Dude, yeah.
Everybody's in trouble. Event 2, Tia Claire Toomey again. We are going to say her name a lot. And then in event 2 for the men, Pat Vellner.
Yeah.
Which he needed because he got 35th on event 1. And that ended up biting him at the end of the weekend. Big
so bad.
Event 3.
Like all that, I just want to say, because Michelle Otando is still coaching him, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Stop doing regular workouts and just get a swimming coach. Only, just get a dang swim coach, man.
Yeah, Michelle played water polo, but that's not the same thing.
It's not the same thing, but that is the. I want to say it's that, but we did the race, we did the bike race too, and he had a hard time, and he got messed up in that one too. No, I know there was bad luck one on that one too, but I think it's the swimming one.
I agree. Man. There's no reason come on. There's that hole. We never gave you shit for it because Matt Fraser, you still would not have won the games because of Matt Fraser.
Totally.
You lost the games because you still are the worst at this. That's why you got second. Period. Period. You got second. You should have won the games if you just got marginally bad at this. But you are exceptionally bad at this.
Yeah.
So,
that's too bad.
Nothing personal, but
No, it is.
Okay, event 3. Man, this kid, Guimogeeros.
Yeah.
This kid was so fun to watch all weekend long. And I love that we now have a Latin American male that is legit and mixes it up and is, usually we'd get them and they just get last or they quit.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm pumped to see what that does for the sport going forward.
Oh, man.
Toomey wins her 3rd in a row.
Yeah.
Right. Now we go to event 4, and this is Classic Castro. Because Castro is a lot like my wife, where if you try to make her do something, she will just, even if she wants to do it, she will not do it now.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to make me do that? No. Or for Castro, it's like, if you say something is stupid.
Oh, we're going to do extras.
Dangerous. He's like, fine, we'll do it again.
Yeah.
And he brings back the wall walk from the open and added in heavy thrusters.
Yeah.
And I would say for the majority of the athletes, it was moderately heavy for the games athletes.
Yeah.
Yeah, any athlete, that's shit was heavy. That's heavy.
Yeah.
55 thrusters, 55 total wall walks, 10 down to 1. They made a even standard across the board, which was cool.
Yep.
I felt like that was the right call there. And it was just a good old-fashioned twist on a familiar take that we had in the open, which we see a lot. We saw they do the same thing in like 2017 where we had heavy 17.5 versus regular 17.5. So this is something that happens. Regardless of what you think about the wall walk, the test itself was the one thing we hadn't done yet in the day, which is just like brutal grunt work of 15 to 20 minutes of just constant slogging through, where everything else was, you know, super fast, super long, super high skill. And this was just go, like, get it done.
Well, the other thing that I really liked about it is we finally got our push. We finally got the push in there. I mean, those thrusters and those wall walks. And hey, here's the, like, I don't really know what the general consensus is with the wall walks. I love the wall walks. I think it's a cool movement. It's something that you can get a lot of people to do in lieu of a handstand walk. It is different than a handstand walk, but the stimulus
physically,
dude, the stimulus you get, I'll tell you this. Like, I like to think that I'm decent at wall walks. Like I've always programmed since I first saw them, like way back when. I've always like sprinkled them in. I can do all kinds of handstand walks, and what I will never get sore on is like my intercostals, like right at my ribs.
Yeah.
But with wall walks, dude, that support with that is massive. The amount of weight on each arm is a lot. And then you couple that with a super heavy thruster, you are smoking their arms, their shoulder, that pressing position and that stabilization position. And I loved what it looked like. The other thing is that I think that it was a nice connection with the community, because everybody just saw wall walks this year in the open, and everybody now knows what it feels like. And now we get to finally see not just a video of Brent Vikowski doing really well on them, but now we get to see all these athletes kicking ass on this. I mean, I know that I know that, you know, Danielle didn't win, but when you watched her do it, if you watch the way she placed her hands every single time, she had a cadence every single time of where her right hand would go, where her left hand would go, every single time.
Yeah, I mean, same thing with Vikowski.
Yeah, totally. It was amazing. It was amazing. I thought I loved the event. It was a little slower than I wanted, but I thought it was great.
I think yes, but from what we saw,
I think you could have got the same thing going 10, 8, 6, 4, 2.
Yeah, you could.
You know, but like, they needed a long one.
They needed a long one. That was a moderate rep scheme. Like, it was only 110 total reps, but those were like high priced reps.
Oh, hell yes.
You know what I mean? One wall walk is not the same thing as one push-up.
Right.
Thrusters at 185 and 135 is not a thruster at 95 and 65. So like each rep you did, though it was only 110, was like 5 times the value.
Yeah.
With that. I'm with you on the wall walk. I have no problem with it. I like that they brought it back for a lot of various reasons. One, because people shit on it so much during the open. And so when Dave brought it back, now what? And what was cool was, you're right, it kept everyone engaged, because it's almost like being a Cowboys fan, or you were either a Cowboys fan or you are a fan of hating the Dallas Cowboys. But no matter what, if they're on TV, you're going to watch. Yeah. Right? And I feel like that's the wall walk.
Yeah.
The wall walk is also as successful as the Dallas Cowboys, where everybody it's just bad. But you see, yeah, you're right. They brought the pressing back in on both I would say a heavy gymnastic movement, just physically demanding one.
Yeah.
And the heavy thruster where it's press. But also you think about like a thruster, how much core stability you have to be in a good position for a heavy thruster, and how much the wall walk takes away from that. Right. So I thought it was a very deceptive, because everyone's like push. I'm like, dude, my core.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
Will not be able to like support a heavy thruster towards the end of this workout.
Yeah.
Or if you're just thinking about me physically in the first round of 10. Right. And so I thought this was a really cool test of upper body pushing,
Yeah.
core stability, and just like intense repetitions. Not intense like the sprint, but the whole event was intense for 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Which again, we hadn't tested yet. So
yeah.
At the end of day one, I was really pleased with how the programming was.
Mm-hmm.
On the men's side, Scott Panchek, man, what a great all weekend.
Awesome.
That was great to just see him there after what he was dealing with to come in and win that one. And then on the women's side, freaking Mal O'Brien.
Mal O'Brien, dude.
I mean,
dude, that girl, I have not seen that sort of composure in a long time.
Could you imagine Sarah Sigmund's daughter with Mal O'Brien's composure? I bet
would destroy the field. Yeah.
Right? That's when she's winning like she should have back in 2015.
Yeah.
And Emma Carey got third.
Yeah.
Think about that. Your two 17-year-olds got first and third with Tia Toomey in between in a wall walk heavy ass thruster event.
Yeah.
That was cool. That was really cool. All right. That's the end of day one. Moving into day number 2, which they got a rest day. So this is now Friday. So they got a day off. We move into event number 5. And I really liked this event. 4 rounds for time, 4 20-foot rope climbs, followed by a 500, 400 ski erg, and then a sandbag carry at 200 and 150 with that Husafel stone bag.
Yeah. Right? Strongman stuff.
That is that you couldn't really, unless you had like Vellner's long monkey arms, like you couldn't get your fingers around to just like lock in. So you had to hold it. And we went from pull, a little push, and then we came back to just pull. Pull on the rope climbs, pull on the ski. And the sandbag carry, the position you're in, one, you got to pull it off the floor to get to your chest. And then to hold it there with no interlocking, it's just a straight static isometric pull. Think of it like hanging from the pull-up bar with your arms at 90 degrees.
Yeah.
If you guys can't really picture that. And I liked it because they made the bag look easy. And it looked more like just a 200-pound chest piece. But when you looked at it and be like, oh shit, okay, that's heavy.
Yeah.
That's heavy. It's a 200 dead weight bag.
Yeah.
But it made the ski valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Like you couldn't just chill because it was basically like a couplet. I know it's a triplet.
Oh, I mean, like with like static hold with the piece in between the ski in between.
Yeah. So, it's a lot of pulling for what we've done so far. I did like the event. It's in a time frame that we haven't dabbled in yet. No, we like very similar to what we did. It was more of a 10 to 11. Let me look at this real quick. That 11 to 12 time frame, where event 4 was more of a 15 to 20 time frame, right? So we are below what that was. So we haven't hit that yet. But it was a lot of pulling again.
Totally. I think
still like the event. I'm just giving like now we're getting into a lot of redundancy for the second time.
Yeah, I think that you could have had the same sort of thing happen if you did like make it a push, a pull, push, push. I'm sorry, pull, push, pull, where you do your rope climbs.
Yeah.
And do like a shoulder to overhead, and then do the sandbag carry.
The question is that I like the rope climbs. The bag carry, I think, was like they handled the bag carry, I think, faster than maybe Dave would have thought.
Yeah, which happened a couple times.
I think if they did like 2 spaces, so pulled that, like they did 1 section. I think if they did double, because it would have been like half down, half back, and then sprint down. then the bag would have stayed there. So that'd have been nice for the volunteers.
Yeah, totally.
Double the distance on the carry, but yeah, some type of push.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we just did thrusters the event before, so you don't want to do that. But if you do, even if you did
what would you
what would I do? Okay, so I would, if the skier, if you're wanting it to be a little bit of a calorie element, like, you know, I mean, we got the distance on there, but when you're doing that, it's more of a, okay, here's a heart rate thing. We want to kind of get you up and going. What I would do is I would pick shoulder to overhead. I mean, maybe even like 135, something that's not too heavy for these guys, and say, okay, you have 25 reps, shoulder to overhead.
Yeah, because the ski was taking about 145 to 2 minutes.
Okay.
So,
I mean, could they blast through that? Yeah, they could blast through that pretty easily. But as you get going, that volume is gonna add up. And I think it would give you the push. It would still have the pulling break in between. But then it's that, and then it's that classic, though, back and forth between the push and the pull. You know, very CrossFit it, you know.
I like that. But yeah, that was it. So you had your high skill gymnastics, you had your monostructural with the ski, and then you had your odd object weightlifting with that for 4 rounds for time.
Or you could have done burpees.
Yeah.
There's pushing there too. If you want it to be like a more of a monostructural.
Yeah. I mean, burpees I lump into close to what a monostructural would be, kind of like a double under, but the gymnastics version of a double under. Yeah, that would have been okay. Just to
a target, either that or you have them jump over, even jump over the sandbag even.
Yeah, or on and off the bag.
Yeah,
I think burpee, that would have been a good spot to do it, because then you don't lose the element of the basically like that aerobic test that is the ski.
Right.
Okay, but all in all, I like this one.
Yeah, it's cool.
Get heavier sandbags. Okay, so like we said, 10-12 minutes, you hit every time domain. So far it's a new time domain, it's a new test, a lot of pulling. And then we moved to event 6 and 7, and event 6 was 5 rounds, 250-meter run, and then 1 clean anyway up a ladder. Men went from 245 to 315, women went from 165 to 205. And the time cap, I think, the time cap forced the intensity of the event, because like everyone got time capped. Like almost everybody here got time capped.
Yeah.
Especially on the men's side. And we said a lot before is like, sometimes Dave picks time caps that dictates the intensity to the field. And I feel like this was one of those. Between 6 and 7. So this was more of like a very high intense aerobic test.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks weight on a clean is like, you just ran 1,250 meters in this test. Like that is, you were just under a mile. Just under a mile of just all near max effort for that distance. And then you couple in this heavy clean. I thought it was a cool couplet. And then on event 7, it was a shorter run, but much heavier bars, which now the intensity, and you saw it, went right into the barbell, right? So the focus shifted.
100%.
Event 6, it was about the run. And event 7, it was about the clean. And and I had no problem with it, because it did test athletes differently.
And I think that that's something that people really have to understand. This was not the same event, even though, it's a little heavier and the distance is a little different. No, the first one was a run event. The second one is a lifting event.
Yes.
Like that's what it is. It's an active recovery. The second one was an active recovery lifting event.
100%.
The first one was an active recovery running event.
Right. I mean, it got heavy still, but still we're talking about games athletes here.
Totally.
Like, man, you look at 245, 265, 285, like that's power clean. 305 for like all these guys can power clean that.
Yeah.
All of them. Now with a shorter bar, it's not quite as easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when people looked at this and they're like, oh, it's the same event, this is so stupid, why is it back to back and worth 100 points? And I was like, well, this is why. Not all couplets are the same. Just because it says couplet, it's not the same thing, right?
Even if it has the same movements, it's not the same thing.
It's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Not. These are two totally different workouts. Like, well, some of the best people finish in the top and did. I was like, yeah, because they're the freaking best.
That's because they're the best people.
Look at the people who like, look at your top 10. It's like, there's a different 5 than the other 5, right? And that shows you that it's like, so when people say it's like, well, we graphed this thing and this athletes performed great in both of them as a overall, I was like, okay, well, that just shows that's a testament to their balanced fitness.
Yeah. It's kind of like saying, well, the test works because, you know, like in the past, Tia and Matt won. Well, that doesn't mean it was a good test. So you almost like for Tia, like you got to take her out of this one. You know, you can't say, well, we graphed it, whatever. If you look at the top 10 and you take the average of those top 10, the test did what the test was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And it showcased can you run fast for a decent distance with some interval breaks in here where you got to have a little blast. That again, like that weight for most is not an issue. We saw most of the athletes, even if they got to the end, even though they got time capped, they got to that end and there wasn't a lot of setup for those bars up at the top. Second one, it was all about the setup.
It was like all go.
Yeah. Onto the lifting.
Yeah. And you know, just people just don't know the programming side to it. They just read on paper and post things on Instagram like an idiot, like Arm and Hammer.
Dude, I saw that.
That was the dumbest.
I will say this. I think that if I was to design this, I don't think I would have put it the same way. I think if I was to design it, I would have changed the first piece.
Yes. To what?
I would have made the weights lighter. And increase the reps on them. Huh?
I was so I want to do the same thing as you.
Yeah.
No change on the second event.
None.
Event 7. I wanted to make the weight a little lighter, have them do power clean and jerks.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah, that would be good for the push. That'd be good for the push too.
Right. And so then it's just a little bit lighter, right? So say it's like for the mid, 205, 225, 245, 265, 285.
Yeah.
Right. And the women is whatever the women equivalent of that is, 70% ish, but 145, 155, 165, 175, 185.
Yeah.
And so now it's run, go fast, be explosive with some weightlifting. And then if you threw your burpees in there, like you were talking about on event 4, right? Then you got a little push and a little pull.
Yeah.
And then you on event 7, it's heavy, but it's a squat clean, right? Like you have to squat.
Yeah. See, I would have done. Yeah, we were thinking the same on that. That's what I would have done.
Yeah.
And all that's doing in what people need to see is that all. No, 100%. I think that what it was is great, but what we did is we just put a little bit more of a separation between the obvious of what we see on here as one is the running event, one is the lifting event. We 100%. We just pushed it to where it's more obvious now. Well, it's a running event and you're going to go a lot faster because it's lighter.
Right.
And we're going to force you to squat on all these. So guess what? This one is a lifting event. So you get to rest, quote unquote, with your run in between there. That's what the difference is going to be. So, but I agree. We were thinking the same thing on that. That's funny.
I wanted your opinion, but I felt like we'd get pretty close. But like, again, look, Dave does the same things. Like you saw his post his post was what the event, like he's doing his own like after action report is what he posted about it. What I thought it was going to be, what actually happened, who got capped, who did well, what I liked about it. And at the bottom was like what I would change.
Yeah.
He's looking at that.
Yeah.
And we're doing the same thing, right? We're doing the same thing as Dave. And if you wanted a little bit more variance between the two, even though I thought there was plenty of variance between the two, maybe something a little bit lighter with more extended range of motion, like a clean and jerk.
Yeah.
Because we got snatches coming later. And on the first one or the second one, event 7, don't change at all. Keep it heavy and make them squat.
Yeah.
Shorten it up. Event 6 on the women, Tia Toomey. Event 7 on the women, also Tia Toomey.
Dude, she made that last barbell look like her interview afterwards was so great. She's like, well, yeah, it's not a problem. So I just grabbed it. Yeah. Everyone else is like going through their like, Olympic lifting platform routine. And she's just like, done.
On the men's side, Jeffrey Adler wins event number 6.
He looked great on that.
He did. And then in event number 7, Guimogeeros.
Strong kid, man.
So effing strong.
Dude, he doesn't look like he should be that strong.
I know. You look at his quads, you're like, okay. But everything else is like, you're just a fit little guy. Yet you can move a bar as if like you were born to do it.
So I remember the first time I saw him when he snatched in the teen division.
Right. 290 or something.
290 or 295. He was like 5 pounds less than Neil Maddox. And I'm like, who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
Who is this guy?
Absolute
beast, man. Wow.
All right. So for these two, you have a monostructural element with the run. One is high intense monostructural. The other is low intense monostructural. You have a weightlifting movement with the clean. One is more speed based.
Yeah.
And the other is more strength based. So we have two different ones in the same time frame, that 5 to 7 minute range.
Mm-hmm.
But again, two different completely feel events.
Yeah.
Which I liked. Event number 8, the handstand walk obstacle course. Just a little, and this is our single modality gymnastics test, right? We had a single modality monostructural test with the sprint, and now we have a single modality gymnastics test at a massive skill obstacle course. It's just one of those like, hey, if we're going to isolate one, you know, we've said this before, I hope you do this 2 more times with the 2 other modalities that we're supposed to be working with. Because if you just isolate one of them, I feel like that's not balanced. And it's unfair because now you're testing a specialist.
Yep.
And then, man, it was needed, right? We needed something like this. And if you're going to test a single modality gymnastics test, of all the pulling we've done so far in the other events, like this was the one that we needed more of a press with.
Totally.
In my opinion. So I was fine with it.
I mean, it was what it was. I thought that it fit. If we had less events, I would have been a little more like, that's a little. I think it was. I will say this: I liked it way better than the first time they brought out the parallettes with the cones and all that. I like this version better. Mm-hmm. I like the fact that the athletes were better at this because I think it was a better test. If you would have had it like this before, I think it would have been a shit show. I think that there would have been people hanging out in the middle all over the place. But watching the athletes go at it, I mean, geez, man, Daniel Brandon, my God.
Oh my
dude, that was so bad. And I kind of, it was funny. I'm watching her go. And then I remember when we were at the games last year, you know, when you're like, I'm going to go try the 100-meter handstand walk. She's like, yeah, I did it in 45 seconds or whatever the number was, you know, where she like never came down at all. She's so good on her hands. So, I mean, just so, it's so comfortable, you know, just so good at that. But, I honestly was shocked that they brought the parallettes back out. I didn't think they would. I thought that the one time would have been kind of that was all right, but maybe that's kind of teetering on Cirque du Soleil kind of work, you know?
Yeah, well, true, but
it's close, but I thought that it was fine. And it was fine. And again, we have so many events that it was okay.
Well, the thing is, as he's like this is a super, like when you say Cirque du Soleil or specialist, but like, look who won, Scott Panchak.
I know.
Panchak's not the gymnastics guy.
No. You know who I was?
Got second. And this was my, like Dave always says, there's a moment where he sees an athlete. When Justin Medeiros took second in this event, that was the first time I was like, oh shit.
Really?
This kid has an opportunity to win this now.
Yeah.
Because it was so different in niche. And that was the first time I was like, uh-oh.
I was, when I saw it coming up and he lined up, I was like, okay, how can you do the same technique you did at the games with a obstacle rather than just a straight shot? And he totally did. Mm-hmm. And wow, did that pay off? What I'm saying, right? It's super like, smart.
I was like, all right, you got something I didn't know you had in your bag.
Yeah.
Right. And here's the best part is this came up during Instagram Live. And someone is bitching about Daniel Brandon getting all the coverage on the handstand walk.
She crushed it. How can you
You're like,
not?
they didn't even show the race. I'm like, yes, they did. It was Daniel. Like, some dude in the Olympics in the 400 meter is blowing the field away by 10 meters. Why am I going to show the other dudes that are not going to set the world record or win the gold medal? That was the race.
Yeah.
That was the whole race. No one was even close to Daniel Brandon.
No, there was time to come back to everyone else in the race.
And like, yeah, exactly. We had plenty of time to come back and see everybody else not finish first.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're probably related to someone that didn't get shown in that because they weren't as good as Daniel Brandon was, who was just on another
phenomenal
like, planet.
Yeah. That was such a good event for her.
That was cool. I could have done without the 2 middle fingers at the end though.
I don't really know what that was about.
I think that was about the protocols that she was still being forced into.
Yeah, I guess.
Here's the deal. This might be me being a dad now, but the picture, if you go to her Instagram page.
Oh my gosh, you totally just got old on me, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, like she's given up 2 fingers and I was like, and then you look at the background and there's a 10-year-old girl watching her.
Flipping her off back. Yeah.
And I was just like, and I like Danielle Brandon. And I thought what she had to deal with all weekend long was different than anyone ever had to deal with. Like, you lost your 2 like
teammates, man. Totally
gone. And then you got put into this like cattle pen for 4 straight days. You got put in lanes separate from everybody. You almost got forced into your own heat, but 3 other girls are like, I'm running with her.
Yeah.
During the sprint, which was a really cool story, which we'll talk about later. But that was like, I was like, that was unnecessary.
Yeah.
I hope that gets fixed. I know Justin will fix that. I mean, he gets fired up too, but like, I could have done without that.
It is what it is. I mean,
yeah,
I will say this, like, I get it. I totally get it. And, you know, everyone's watching and you got little kids watching and all that kind of stuff, but like you're fired. Yeah. And I think it was, I don't think
too.
No, I know. Like, I get it. I think she needed something positive to happen for her.
Great. And she
did. She's like, oh, F it, you know? But I get it.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even someone like screaming, fuck yeah, at the end of that, like as loud as they can. And
yeah,
the Josh Bridges celebration, right? So that's a little, maybe that's a little, I mean, that's my favorite celebration at the CrossFit Games. So maybe I'm creating a double standard. But yeah, I guess that is. All right. Maybe I'll take it back.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's okay.
No, I mean, but I'm recognizing that it's a double standard, so I will take it back.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
All right. Event number 9. So the important part about this one is now we are cutting down to 30. All right. So we have to look at the tests up until we get here, and we've gone super long, hour and a half swim kayak. We did a odd object, super heavy, high volume, super high skill gymnastics. We went fast sprint test, isolate monostructural. And then we did a grueling open S classic CrossFit of wall walks and thrusters in a 15 to 20 minute time frame. And then we come back the next day, long rope climbs, high skill gymnastics, ski erg, monostructural, and then that odd object carry, 10 to 12 minute time frame, which we hadn't hit yet. 2 back-to-back events of a couplet. It was about a run and speed on a bar, and then it was about a jog and strength on a bar. And then we did high skill gymnastics where we tested them and isolated in that. And so now we've come to event number 9, which was just, if you're going to cut for the first time, I mean, you can't really think of a better way than a classic couplet rep scheme of 21-15-9 of 2 movements that require no skill, minimal strength, and just all guts of cows on a bike and lighter power snatches for the field, but just power snatches.
One of my favorite events of the entire games.
It was, I think it was the best way to cut at that point is like, we've done all of these unique tests and covered all these bases. Now for your final shot to make it into Sunday or Saturday, let me see how willing you are.
How bad do you want to make it to that cut?
And this is one of those, like, it's not cliche. How bad do you want to make the cut?
Yeah.
Period. We can test your strength, your stamina, your speed, your gymnastics, and now we're just testing your will.
Yeah.
And I love this because a lot of people train volume and they think that's the secret to be a great elite athlete. And not many people are willing to do tests like this multiple times throughout a training week or even a training month of pure, unadulterated, just
full send,
fire, full send.
Yeah.
And the person that did that the most, I thought, was Matt Fraser. He did things like this in training that nobody really was willing to do because they just said, like, instead of going there, I'm just going to do all of this. And not many athletes go there. And I loved this test to cut down to just to cut to 30. Take the bottom 10 off.
I mean, my personal opinion is that this wasn't the event that cut people. There were 9 events that got you into wherever you needed to be.
This is the one we cut.
But man, what a way to go out! Like this was it. This to me lit the field on fire, literally. I mean, you talk about the whole, like, you know, the acid bath stuff and all that. That's exactly what this was. There is nothing pretty, difficult, unable to do anything. It was, can you go light your ass on fire and hold on to that the entire time? I loved watching Amanda Barnhart on this.
Yes.
She was ripping the bar, not off the ground, but back down to the ground. The race between like her and Sam Briggs, you know, who
hammering the floor with the bar.
It was insane watching that. Like, I love that. And you're right. I think that one of the hidden tests is not just about, there are a lot of great athletes out there. And I've seen a lot of really great athletes that don't have the heart. And this right here bled you down to that. If you had the heart, the grit, the fortitude, the pain tolerance, the I just want to be here thing, then you did well. And that's what it showed. It was awesome.
It stripped away all of your fancy skills.
Totally.
Your Instagram famous lifts, your high volume programming, and just stripped all of that away to the most purest form of fitness and resolve.
Oh, man.
Just go.
You want to know what's interesting is I was watching Brent Fikowski, and I've never seen anyone, and I didn't know if it was a tactic, if he was like trying to hyper oxygenate himself. That dude was breathing bigger and deeper than anyone else that I saw on the floor. And it looked like it was intentional. Like, not like you're breathing hard. I'm watching everyone else. And it's, now that I listen to Chris Henshaw all the time, I'm always watching how people breathe. And you know that you're taking in a lot of oxygen. You know that you're needing a lot of oxygen on that one, because that acid, that lactic acid,
it's anaerobic. Right?
I mean, you're going to get smashed.
Pure oxygen into the muscles is basically what anaerobic is.
Yeah. So
the ability for your muscles to use oxygen as its fuel source.
I wanted to know if he had trained that, and I was hoping that I wanted to text this to you soon enough to see if we could get like
so damn fast.
Any of those guys to ask him, but like, it looked like the way he was breathing was intentional rather than just, I'm breathing really hard because I'm tired. It was interesting.
So removing, like, now that I'm removed from that, and a lot of the studying that I looked at it is, so lactic acid buildup, right? That is your body's response to stress and fatigue, especially in an anaerobic high pace, basically what they were doing, right?
Yeah.
And what lactic acid does is it's almost like your body's way to self-preserve.
100%.
What lactic acid does is that it inhibits your muscles' ability to contract. So the more lactic acid that builds up, and that's where you see, if you're ever on the bike for, like, say you just do a 60-second sprint, and the last 20 seconds, you're like, I'm trying as hard as I can, and I'm moving nowhere. It's because
stuck in the mud.
Lactic acid has dumped into your muscles and is prohibiting you from using them. That's its job, right? And so if you train endurance, your ability to buffer that and to get it out of your system increases. So what most people do is like, I'm going to do 6 workouts of 10 to 12 minutes every day. And I'm not going to do like hour plus, and I'm not going to do 2 minutes or less. And like, you're missing the most important ingredients to make your 10 to 12 minutes better. Your ability to buffer lactic acid and your ability to just pump your body full of it. And the combination of the two is help you at the other ones, right? You're missing the ends of the instruction that actually make you a better CrossFitter. And so what Brent was doing was pulling in as much air as he could to help buffer the lactic acid, right? And that's where that breathing comes from. Whereas everyone's like, when you do that, you're getting no air in, none. Breathing faster or harder is not giving you more oxygen. It's like a false sense of security. So that's what Brent was doing.
But it was really interesting because it seemed that in that sprint, it's the first time I've seen anyone in any sprint do that, like intentionally do that, which I thought was really, really interesting. But one of my favorite events of the entire games. There were so many things that went into it. It was awesome.
It was great.
It was awesome.
As you said, Brent Fikowski wins, Amanda Barhart wins, and they cut to 30. And at the end of 9 events, we've touched all the bases. Right? It's like, oh, you haven't tested max strength. It's like, we tested the shit out of strength. We did it with a sled drag. We did it with a pig flip. We did it with a heavy thruster under fatigue. We did it with 10 heavy ass cleans under duress. And we tested power with your sprint. Like, we have tested that. We know we tested the shit out of gymnastics and monostructural and mid-tier CrossFit timeframes, 10 to 15 minutes, couplets, triplets, and ending with just a classic CrossFit all heart burner. Damn right. We've tested enough to say, you bottom 10, deuces.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming.
Right. And 10 years ago at the CrossFit Games, we would have crowned the fittest on earth then. And I can't remember who was at the top, but you couldn't say they didn't belong there.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Justin Medeiros was there. Okay. Moving on to Saturday. So we're halfway through the competition. Before we get to halfway through, I got to run into a lot of our Patreons.
Oh, nice.
So that was really cool. So those of you guys that support us on patreon.com are programatrons. It was really cool to see you guys out there in Madison. The patches didn't arrive yet because I wanted to go there with a bunch of patches and just hand that shit out.
Yeah.
They didn't arrive yet. So they're on their way, but we want to thank you guys for saying hi, reaching out, supporting the show. Just to remind you guys, if you go to patreon.com / I'm just going to say slash. Get with the program. You guys can follow us on Patreon. You can support the show more than you already do for $6 a month. If you want programming with the analysis behind it, like we are currently doing now, we give you daily programming, 1 workout a day from Bill and I, with everything you already have on our Patreon for just $20 a month. It's just an additional 14. So if you're already on it for 6, you can re-up to our Programmatron Plus package. And for $20 a month, you get all our exclusive content, percentage deals on our merchandise will be coming out, and daily programming outside of the one you already get per week, and still give yourself a chance to be in the running for our free month of programming. So it was really cool to see you guys. I want to thank you guys for supporting us. Awesome. All right. Event number 10. Now we're cutting again to the top 20 from here. And it was 30 toes to bar, 1.5 mile run, 30 toes to bar, 1.5 mile run, and then just 30 toes to bar and a sprint across the field. And for this event, it was long distance running, right up to 5K, maybe a little bit less. If you add the sprint at the end, pretty close. 90 toes to bar, where it was really, though, all about the run. And the one thing I didn't think about, and it was great to have Hinshaw back on, where you're like, okay, toes to bar, interference, just a little, like screw you up in the middle. And then he was like,
hip flexors.
No. Hip flexors.
Yeah.
Man. I was like, this is just a shitty water station with no water.
Yeah.
It's like hip flexors it inhibits your ability to stabilize your core, so you start to hyperextend, but it also limits the ability to bring the leg forward,
Yeah.
running more difficult. And I'm like, gosh darn it, Dave Castro, you genius son of a bitch. And I hate to give him too much credit to give him a big head, but hey, but it was so great to have Hinshaw on. And like, I just was like, can you just come up to the booth instead of do a 5-minute interview? Because I would love to take a break, and 2, just listen to you.
Yeah. I love listening to him talk.
And
He's
you
got
think
so
about
many
what
good
we did
points.
is that now they ran so fast. I want to know how long that course really was, because I cannot fathom someone doing 3 miles of running, 90 toes to bar in less than 22 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Some of the average paces on them was like 6:12, 6:15. Either way, this was your 20-minute plus time frame, which you've only hit one other time, which was in event 1. Long distance monostructural with running, which everybody does and is used to, different than, say, a swim and a kayak. And then a core heavy gymnastics movement. And I'll say a low skill, high volume one.
Yeah. And it really, because of those,
to what we've been building to.
Yeah. Right? And it really kept those athletes. If you have this event, you could do this event in your regular gym. It will be 100% completely different, because all those athletes were unbroken. Like the ones that mattered, they were all unbroken. Like the toes to bar, you're right. It was interference, but the intensity level was so high from start to finish. Mm-hmm. When you watch Emily Rolfe do this event, and the way she was moving, her and who was she with, like back and forth the whole time? Blanking on her name.
She was with Briggs.
Christy Ermo. So those guys, that intensity never shut down. So the 30 reps is good. Now it's kind of like, okay, when Dave was designing this, was the intent? I wonder if his intent was to force them to like dip into the tank a little bit more on the toes to bar, or was it meant just to kind of make it be, we want you to be fatigued. We want the midline to be fatigued, because how it's going to change your time, your breathing or whatever. I think it would have been different if all of a sudden it was now 40 toes to bar each time.
Yes.
Because that now all of a sudden they will take a break, and all of a sudden, boom, intensity drops. These guys went from run, full send, unbroken, run, unbroken, all the way to the end. And that was a completely different setup.
Unbroken on the last round. I agree, because that 30 is in round 1. You're like, no problem,
done. And I could do that one,
right? Yeah. I could do that round 1.
Yeah,
but round 2, I will not be able to. And if I tried to, I would go to failure.
Yeah,
I'd get to like 22 and then do 8 singles after that.
Right.
And then in round 3, I'd be done.
Yeah.
Doing 3s.
Yeah.
Right. And so I thought that was a cool little, it's like Dave Castro sitting in front of a van with no windows holding out some candy called 30 Toes to Bar. He's like, hey, little guy, you want some candy?
Come into my web, so the spider to the fly. I would have loved to seen the testing on this one. Like I'm sure the numbers were different, and they went up and down just to see where everyone was going to be sitting.
Yeah. Oh, like what different rep schemes he used?
How they came up to this setup. That would have been interesting.
Yeah. So now we cut to 20, and as we explained before, is like we didn't cut because of this event. We cut to the totality of the test up to this. And this is an event that we have yet to test in a time frame and a rep scheme and a movement pattern that we haven't done yet.
Yeah.
So it's another piece to the puzzle. Right. And I said this on the broadcast, is we are building the fittest on earth puzzle, and we have 15 pieces that we're plugging in. Right. And right now we have yet to have one that just like slapped right on top of itself.
But what's cool is up to this point, you know what the puzzle looks like.
Right.
It's like you have you got that nice pictures. You're like, oh, I bought this puzzle because I really like this Frozen picture. This is my daughter. It's Frozen. So I got Elsa on the front. And so what you did, you lay out all the puzzle pieces, and now I can see Elsa. I just don't have the whole puzzle, but you know what the puzzle looks like. So we've cut up to that far. We know exactly now where we are and who's supposed to be there. And that's why we're now down to 20 people.
So event 10, Emily Rolfe wins. And on the men, Luka Jukic.
Dude.
We had to learn the hard way how to say his name, but that dude had a weekend, man.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
Great.
he did.
Absolutely great weekend.
Yeah.
Did you read that story? I think it might have been Morning Chocolate, but like one of the, I can't remember, maybe it was Pat Vellner. And he went to Luka like on day 2. And he's like, bro, you need to go get some Reeboks because you were going to win event 10. And so like Reebok rep knocked on his door the night before that event. He signed, got some Reebok shoes, and then goes out and win event 10 and got himself $10,000.
Dude.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pat. You better buy that dude beers.
All the beers. All the Labatt Blues he can find. Canadian beer, right? All right. So now we have our top 20 as we move into event number 11. And event 11 was 11-minute AMRAP. So now we have an AMRAP, 1 pegboard, 7 single arm dumbbell overhead squats at 50 and 70, and 15 heavy handled and heavy rope gauge double unders, where this was like a straight pegboard event.
Yep.
With if you effed up your double unders, you were going to lose.
Yep.
And this was just full blown upper body pulling strength, stamina, I would say accuracy to a pegboard for 11 straight minutes with the interference of holding your arm over your head and stabilizing for a dumbbell and heavy shoulder intensive heart rate jacking 15 double unders. It's only 15. And the biggest twist I felt was I thought they were going to have to advance their rope each round as their chest piece. It's like, all right, I'm going to get further from the wall. I'm going to get a little bit of a break. But they're like, nope, that judge will move it there for you. You just go right back to the wall, sir, madam. And I think that messed up a lot of people's game plans early. You saw people get like 2 or 3 rounds in the first 2.5 minutes. And then you never saw them again.
I think it,
which was unbelievable.
I think it was the numbers were picked. I mean, I think the numbers are weird, 1, 7, 15, but I'm sure you're up there in the desk, like tweaking a little bit, like, you know, can it be 14? Like, come on.
Fembot looking like Austin Powers stripping.
But I think this one, I think out of most of the events we had this weekend, this one lulled you into some dark places. And the thing is that it's not that you're so tired, but there is a line when it comes to gymnastic movements, you have the line of I'm okay and I'm not okay anymore is so small. And that's exactly what this is. If you push this too fast, and you don't have, I mean, I think everyone at this point you saw everyone, like, for the most part, pretty decent on the pegboard capacity. They could handle it now, which I thought was great. Yeah. But you're right. The speed at which they were going in the first 3 minutes versus the last 3 minutes.
Yes.
Stark difference, because the numbers were so short that it was like, oh man, I'm already back at the wall again. Oh man, I'm already back at the wall again. Like, an overhead squat, that's not a big 7. No. The double under, I mean, the double unders were really nothing, even though I know it's heavy. No, and yes, there's that feeling, but it's not enough.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, like if you would have doubled the number, made it 14 and 30, totally different race. Everyone, you would not have seen the fails on the pegboard that you saw on this one. Yeah. They were constantly at the pegboard and staring at the thing, going like, God dang it, here we are again already. Fuck.
Yeah.
You know, damn it.
I think for me, and you talk rep scheme, and one thing is like, I really did like this event. It was cool the way it played out. You're right. The dumbbell wasn't hard. It was just like, if you got a no rep, you lost time, right?
Yeah.
You lose energy.
Yeah.
5 seconds gone. Double unders, the same thing. No one really got too tired to do them. They weren't too hard to execute, but if you missed, 5 seconds gone.
Yeah.
Right. In an event where one round only took 40 to 45 seconds.
Right.
Like, you just lost 25% of your time, which is where the separator was if you could handle the pegboard.
Right.
If not, it was all a wash. backing it up, I would have liked to have seen maybe 10 dumbbell overhead squats, 5 on each arm for balance and fatigue, and like 20 double unders just to keep the numbers there. But 15 is fine, but 10 would offset the time domain. So I bumped up the double unders, but kept everything else the same, right? So it was still a pegboard heavy event.
Yeah.
It made more balance on the overhead squats just because that's the way my brain works. Not that this was a problem. There was no problem.
Yeah.
And this up the double unders a little bit to offset the added reps to the.
Yeah, and I don't think that would have changed it that much. I mean, I think that time-wise, to
For
make
me,
the switch from one to the other.
Tested someone's balance between their arms on the overhead squats.
Well, and it was interesting on the standard that they made. It was interesting on the standard that, like, you had to stay on the same arm. Like, it's 7 reps. Who cares? Like, I thought that was the fact that was even made a standard to me was like, so something happened in testing where they decided to make that, because that to me seems like, really? It's 7 reps.
Yeah, I'm curious why.
Yeah. Like, where did that come from?
Yeah. Where did that come from? Yeah. I'd be very curious to hear
but why. I have to say, being that I did my podium pick was the pegboard. I saw this come up and I was like, there you go, guys. It's coming back. The pegboard is here. And I liked what it was. I thought it was fun. I thought it was fun to watch.
Yeah.
I liked watching the struggle of the athletes, seeing who had them and who didn't.
Sure. It was just a pegboard event.
Totally. Hey, it was another pull. Yeah, no, I mean, we're pulling like crazy for sure.
Pulling like crazy. But I did like the event. So overall, the scheme of the test is like, now we have an AMRAP, which is time dependent. High volume.
Yeah.
I mean, you're getting upwards of 10 to 12 pegboards.
Yeah.
Double the most we've ever had in one event.
Yeah.
The most we've ever had an event is 6. So,
yep.
I mean, that was a lot. All right. Then you had the monostructural weightlifting gymnastics. You had all 3, right? Triplet. We just had a long couplet this morning. And so now we have that. And then we move into event number 12, our third and final single modality as we complete the triangle with weightlifting. So we had monostructural isolated. We had gymnastics isolated. Now we're isolating a weightlifting. And we had a 1-rep max snatch in the platform style. You go round robin until you miss. And we got some of the best performances and moments I've ever seen at the games.
That's such a cool setup. I mean, that was one of, I think, of the 2019 games. That was probably one of the, funnest, best events. Yeah. But it was awesome to watch that at the snatch. And then when you get up to the top, I mean, I love people being able to perform on game day.
Right.
Justin Medeiros. Awesome.
Yes.
Just awesome. Annie Thorstadter.
Annie Thorstadter.
Just awesome. Like that, like, come on. It was just awesome.
That's one of those, you're going to see that video clip of her standing up out of the bottom, looking over with a completely shocked face for a decade. Like, that's going to be in every CrossFit highlight reel package of what it is CrossFit for another decade. And then we get, Tia wins that with the tiebreaker to Annie. But Guimogeeros, like,
dude,
I have never, ever in the 15 years of CrossFit seen anyone move that beautifully, that effortlessly with that much weight. I couldn't say shit. And if I said anything, it would just not do it justice. So I was just like,
no, totally. I mean, you saw like
it was as close.
The one, totally. I mean, okay, so go one weight before that. So Royston got where they both hit it.
Yeah,
they both hit 300. Royce is a strong dude.
So strong.
Like beastly strong.
Yes.
But the weight looked like 300 with him. Whereas when Guy grabbed the bar,
guess what?
The weight looked like 135. And you said it perfect, from PVC pipe to empty barbell to 135 to 225 to 305. it looked exactly the same. His body position, how smooth he was. There wasn't any jerking action. He wasn't trying to wing anything in there. It was 100% smooth all the way through. And I mean the not just the strength, but the explosiveness of that kid.
Yeah.
Wow. That was super fun.
It was super cool. So that was just a great way to close it out. The Coliseum just blew the top off. So that was cool. So now we have our weightlifting event. All right, we move into the final day of competition, and we start things off with a familiar format, but not the results anyone was expecting. And we have a redo of the 2-2-2-3 interval, where you have 2 minutes, 3 times to get as far as you can for the yoke carry. It's 168 feet. The yoke is 605 and 425. Heavy as F. Heavy. That is unbelievably heavy. But you had to do 20 GHD sit-ups and 8 cheese curd burpees over the hay bale, which we saw at the Madison triplet in 2018.
Yeah.
100 pounds, 70 pounds, and then a yoke carrying the time remaining. And when we were told what this event was going to look like, when we were described this event, when we talked to the demo team, when we talked to Dave, when we talked to Justin Berg and Dave Eubanks, they go, no one will finish this in 3 rounds. No one. No one said it in testing. No one's going to be able to. If anyone does it, it will be like a miracle or a shocked. And then you come out in round 1 of the men, and 4 dudes almost finished this in the first minute. And Tia was 1
inches
a size 7 shoe away from doing this in 2 minutes, when everybody who did this, tested this, watched it be done, said no one is going to do this in 3, and they did it in basically 1.
How the hell did Tola, one of the strongest cats in all of CrossFit, not how did he do this in 3 rounds?
You should have seen people's faces in the booth, because we're at North Park, we're right next to the scoring.
Yeah.
Justin Berg was right behind us. What in the world just happened? Right? And what I thought was really cool is that we saw the same exact thing for the men and the women. And this was actually a theme all weekend, is that the times between men and women were almost identical.
Yeah.
The number of people that got capped or middled were identical all weekend long.
Yeah.
It was so cool. I have a theory on why that is. We can touch that at the end, but this was great. This was interval. We haven't done that. This was GHD core, cheese curd over, core posterior. And really, I think people underestimate like how many gymnastic movements it takes to do the over, right? So he's like, you have gymnastics with the GHD, you have an odd object, basically power clean with the curd, and then you have to do a burpee, and then an assisted box jump over. Like the cheese curd over is 3 movements in 1.
Yeah.
Burpee, throw, jump. It's so, and then the yoke carry, you have just odd object, and what you said about Royce Dunn is just brute strength. And to show you the difference between the two is like, oh, strength is strength. It's like, no, look what Malheiros did last night at 305 snatch, which made everybody look like it was a barbell. And then he got buried on a 605 yoke carry, and Dunn was just like while he was running across the field. And it was even crazy. It's like BKG won the damn thing.
Yeah.
And then Tia, obviously, she just had to like blow her yoke across the field at the end there because she was so damn close. But this was cool.
Yeah.
Like, what was supposed to be like a 12-minute interval test was a sub 5-minute all-out sprint test.
Yeah.
It was weird how the athletes changed the test. I thought that was unique.
Yeah, totally. And
it's the first time where it also, if you won, you didn't get more rest, you did less work.
Yep.
Right? Whereas people got capped. Lots of people got capped.
And it's not even just the fact that it's reps. I know you mentioned, the 20 GHD sit-ups. So if you had to go through 3 rounds, that's 60, which, okay, we've seen a gargantuan amount of GHD, for these guys, but I see it more as the time under tension under 605 pounds or 425 pounds. The shock that your central nervous system takes by being under that load.
Yeah.
One time is one thing. Multiple times is another thing. Like it's not a like, oh, 1 more minute, no big deal. Like there's a toll that takes on your body. And for those that didn't have to have that, man, like that's a feather in your cap, because the other ones, like, you already didn't do well in the event, and to penalize you on top of that, we're going to put you under 605 pounds for a longer time. So now you're extra penalized.
Right.
So,
and the other thing with the GC is, like, yes, it was only maybe 80 reps if you went all 4 rounds, but you did 180 to get here to begin with.
Yeah.
And it was at a full-blown intensity, like max effort, GHDs, burpees.
Which is way different than pacing 180.
And it hit your core on both sides. Then you're right, just smoked you to get under that yoke. I loved this test, but it was probably the most fun one of the weekend because we were just all blown away. And I don't remember ever watching an event at the CrossFit Games where everyone was just like, what the F just happened?
Yeah.
Like, where the athletes just went out there and broke Dave Castro's event.
Yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't see where Dave was, but I wish I was just to see his reaction.
Yeah.
And I bet he probably, what else can you do but laugh?
Oh, he would.
Like, and he did, right? You're like, oh my gosh.
Either that or he goes back and talks to the team and it's like, so you guys just all sandbagging on me or what? I'm trying to, so I need to get better athletes than you guys to test these things out? What the heck?
Right. Like, how did Tolo just get buried by this?
Dude, I don't know. I don't know.
All right. So now we move in event 14. We come back in the Coliseum and we have a new movement never done in live CrossFit competition before.
Got to say it that way. That's important.
You have to say it that way. And we also have an ascending rep scheme. 6, 10, 14 of
weird
heavy deadlifts with short bars. And it is parentheses on here because it does make a huge difference.
Yep.
And freestanding handstand push-ups. And when I first heard this, I was like, oh man. Because I just remember, like, pegboard from 2015. Falling all over the place, and the people are going to look dumb, and we'll see, because listen, I didn't know. So I was just reserved and waiting to see. After watching it take place, this was gnarly.
Yeah.
Gnarly with weight, but gnarly with just how much you talk about, like, central nervous system.
Yeah. I
can imagine how your CNS feels after 13 and 14.
Yeah.
Because this wasn't just a handstand push-up. It was an isometric hold upside down. It was handstand walking. It was handstand holding and handstand push-ups. It was crazy. To the point you forgot that the barbell was 405 and they did 30 reps. Right? And we got some great races at the end. But if you just think CNS and, like, your core after these 2 events, just sandblasted.
Yeah, annihilated. I thought it was interesting having the race happened on the handstand push-up. So the intensity and the anxiety, like that race anxiety, where now you have to be so focused on, I got to keep my balance. I can't rush this. Right. I got to take my one step with my hands. I got to come back down, lower my legs back down, keep my balance again, kick back up, try to do the walk again while you know that the person's right next to you trying to go fast. And it's like, so that really, that anxiety and that focus can get, like, blasted, which all of a sudden changes that handstand walk. It's almost like, in put it in perspective, it's kind of like when you're doing double unders and you start missing. and then you get
Oh,
frustrated, and then you really start to miss. Like, it doesn't get easier once you get frustrated.
you panic.
This is the same kind of thing. And if you panic here, like, now you're just messing everything up, because I think the standard that was a tough standard to have. And we've seen this. I have seen this movement before in only one other competition. It was, how long ago was that? 5 years ago, maybe. Was it the old OC Throwdown?
Oh yeah,
Like way back. But the difference between that one was, I think you had a 10-foot walk between the pad where you came down. So, having to press up, walk out, come down to make it count. Like, I thought that was, again, interesting how they came up with the standard. And I wonder what it looked like to whittle it down to that. Like, what kind of things were they having to knock off, or what were they trying to adjust to get to that point? But it made a really...
I liked the standard that they used because it made it easier to judge.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree.
So if you guys didn't see it, they had all these lines. They're 16 inches apart. Their hands had to be on the line, fingertips on the line, like the wall walk. And head starts on the ground, push up, walk to next line, head comes down with control.
Yeah.
So it's like a starting line and a finishing line, but you had to start and finish on your head.
Yeah.
It made it really easy for the judges.
100%.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
It's been much harder to judge someone's stability in a locked out handstand. Like, what is stability there?
Well, I mean, and like we already did. I mean, they didn't need to have handstand walks in between. We already did a whole race of just handstand walks. So I mean, we covered that part.
It was just it turned out way better than I thought it would. I don't think it was gimmicky.
Yeah.
We had great races, and I love what you said there, because the racing at the end was so intense, but you, in that moment, like, you couldn't race because you had to be so intentful.
Yeah.
With your movement.
Yeah.
Annie even said in her post interview, which was really cool because, it gave you an idea. She's like, everyone has fired me up, but I know how to, like, chill. I couldn't do it now, or else I would have fallen. So I thought that was really cool. It added to what we already blew people up earlier. But it was one of those, like, this was the pegboard from 2015, but everybody did better.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And like, it was just great races. And like, that's the one where, like, Vellner was like, I have to get points, right? He'd been cutting the lead on Medeiros up into that point, and then Medeiros just comes out and gets second. I'm like, fuck, dude.
Yeah, that kid. I will say, you know what? I will say this. It would have been interesting if this did play out like the pegboard.
Yeah.
I think that our opinion of the event would have changed. I think that.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
It would be like, okay, obviously this, like, what did it really test? I mean, you can always say, well, we're testing, and we could always lay it out.
Yeah.
All the pieces, and, wasn't an appropriate piece of the test, and blah, 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 all that stuff. But I think that it's, I'm glad that everyone was able to do it so that there were races, because then it validated what the test was.
Yeah. Some people were great, some people were okay, and then some people were bad and got exposed.
Yeah.
That's okay.
No, right? I mean, and it is okay, but it's almost like if it would have been like the pegboard,
right?
I think that was still a good test, even though it exposed everybody when we did it back at the time. I think that we would have more of a discussion of, was the test appropriate if no one could do this? But because everyone could, everyone's like, well, it's very easy to say, well, yeah, of course it was a race, because we have people that could do this stuff, so it's a race. And the reason I'm saying that is because even myself, like, there's a teetering on, is it gimmicky? Because it could be very easy to say that.
Oh, for sure. That's what I was worried about.
Yeah. So,
and you're right. The athlete's performance changed the way you analyze the test and the programming.
I think so too.
I agree.
Yeah.
And the one thing I did like to see is that there was an evolution of, like, handstand difficulty as the days went on, right? Day 1, we did wall walks. Day 2, we did a gymnastics hand walking course, which is more skill based. And then day 3, day 4, we did this free, like, everything evolved in difficulty but still we're not near the same movement. Like the wall walk is not a handstand walk.
No.
It looks the same, but they are completely different tests of gymnastics.
Right.
And the handstand walk obstacle course is a completely different test physically, right? That course was just like technically challenging. Freestanding was skill challenging, strength challenging, stamina challenging. Different than the other one. So that's what I like to see.
Yeah, I agree.
But you're right. The athletes change the way we evaluate the test for sure. All right. We've come to the final event. Oh, sorry. It was Pat Vellner won. And no. Yeah, Annie Thorsauter goes out and win that because she needed that. That was
amazing. Yeah.
And then who was it? Oh, it was Vellner. Sorry. All right, event 15. 600-meter row, 90 chest to bar pull-ups, and then 3 36-foot sections of walking lunges, back rack, front rack, overhead rack. And we have a lot of pulling again to finish things off. The row, when you looked at it, is like the row was just there. Right? the row almost looked like it's like, shit, we forgot to put a rower in for concept. Where you know it's like, oh shit, we gotta own up to our sponsorship deal with Concept 2 that we be using here. So let's put it at the front, but let's not take it away from what the race is going to be. Like buy-in row, it was almost like, okay, who's going to screw this up?
Yeah.
Right. And then 15 reps at each pull-up bar. So that was cool to watch. And it was at a set that, like, I think that changed the way people approached it. Because, like, if you just said, here's a pull-up bar, do 90, people would approach that differently strategy-wise than 6 bars of 15.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, oh, 15, I can do that. Like, oh, it's still 90.
Yeah.
You know, and so I thought that was a cool little wrinkle. But then the lunges it's always cool to end with a lunge, right? Especially if you're racing someone, especially when it's overhead. You know, that's kind of a staple thing where we've had lunges at the end in 2015. We had lunges in the end at 2017. We had lunges. We had a yoke carry at the end in 2018. So, and I like the back, the front, the overhead. The weight was challenging enough that it did make some people blow up a little bit.
Yeah.
I was fine with it. It's still a lot more gymnastics pulling, and I would have been fine if they didn't do something like that. There's nothing I hate about this. I like the lunges at the end. The beginning part, I'm just kind of like, okay, there's a workout.
If I take this workout, if I take this event out and singly look at it, I love what it is. I think it's awesome. I love the idea. I mean, you're right. The row is nothing. It's just kind of there. I like 90 chest to bar pull-ups. It's a lot. And I think that, you know, after what these guys have done, it's a lot of pulling again. But I think that it's a good number to put some people into some weird places. And then the walking lunge at the weight, I liked that. I like all right, are you going to, since you know it's your last event, since you know you're racing, since you know you're going to be done, put it all on the line and go from back rack to front rack to overhead? If you would have gone the other way, it would have been a lot easier. You know what I mean? Like just the way it's set up, but it gets increasingly difficult, but it's really not that far. So it's going to force you to go. I thought this event was best at the end because it was a slow, dramatic finish. So it really allowed the intensity and the excitement to really build up, which
the way it was set up was cool. Like you started on the end, and then you worked your way all the way to that end. Yeah,
I like the event. I thought it was to me, it's more than like it was an event. There were some other ones in there. I like the event.
Yeah. I like I said, it's like I'm fine with this event.
Yeah.
And that's just, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I like the way we finished.
I agree.
I think the one thing is, like, if you look at a 600-meter row, that's 2 to 215. casually when you're getting in there.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be within maybe 10 to 15 seconds of each other. And the way the 90 chest bar pull-ups worked with the bars, no one's really going to run away with it too much, right? You can almost give those 10 to 15 seconds back, maybe a little bit more because it does take more time. And the same thing on the back rack lunges, right? 5 seconds per section. There's your 10 to 15. Like every section had its own time discrepancy based off your skill set.
Yeah. No, I agree. And you could have taken all that pull out. If you wanted to still have that lunge, you could have done something like some push press. Do a push press into a push jerk, into an overhead squat, into your back rack lunge, front rack lunge, overhead walking lunge. So you have your pushing, but I mean, again, whatever.
Yeah. Or maybe it was like 500-meter row, 15 back squats, and then back rack lunge to the next rower. 500-meter row, 14 or 15 front squats, front rack lunge to the next rower, 500-meter row, 15 overhead squats, overhead lunge, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, we haven't got below parallel a lot.
True. And then the row would count. Then the row would matter.
Yeah, and then the row would matter. And look, I just made that shit up right now as we're talking.
Totally.
You still would have got the dramatic effect of marching down, and it would have been a little bit different test, and it would fill a little bit of the gaps that we did have overall in the program, right? I think we could have lessened the pulling and added some more below parallel work.
Yeah.
And that, like, not push. I just think we could have added some more squats.
Yeah.
Justin Medeiros gets his first win of the weekend in the most dramatic fashion you could, and one of the more emotional finishes I've ever seen at the CrossFit Games. To imagine overhead walking, lunging 36 feet to win the CrossFit Games to your mom and dad.
Awesome.
Right? Who you thought was sitting on the other side of the stadium, because they were, and the fans let them go all the way down to sit at the end of his lane. That was one of the many emotional moments for me at the end there. And then, I mean, what more can you say about closing things out for your 5th consecutive championship to go out there and just wipe the floor with everybody?
Totally. So good.
And that comes to the end of our weekend. And when I look it over out of the whole, I was like, this is one of the more unique, varied tests we've ever had at the CrossFit Games. Time domains, couplets, triplets, chippers, the way things are structured, single modality balance. The only thing that we said, and we just said this, is like, I would have preferred take down some of the gymnastics pulling volume or even events, and then throw in a bit more below parallel, like squats. Cause like the only legit squat we had was the 55 reps in event 4 with the thrusters. And if you decided to, like, the squat clean and the squat snatches, which was probably like another 15 or 20. So, but like we said before, it's like, but that wasn't the lower body things we did, right? We did sled pulls at heavy weight. We did pig flips that required lower body. We did sprinting, which blows up the lower body. We did heavy deadlifts, which blows up the back and the lower body. And then especially the yoke carry, which again taxes the lower body in different ways. But it doesn't always have to be squats. It can be different tests, which there were. Overall, for me, going through it, one of my more favorite programmed games in 15 years. I think it's top 3 for me.
Dang. That's big.
I really liked, just everything was so different.
Yeah.
There wasn't like events were like, okay, this style again or this again. It was just, it was some good, fresh, new things.
Yeah.
Right? Especially how this whole year's gone.
Yeah. I think that the fact that I thought it was a great games. Again, we've already said a lot of pulling, but in fact, I think there's too much pulling. I mean, my biggest down would be the fact that
there is too much
that got played too much, even though I love pulling stuff. I mean, that's some of my favorite stuff, but I know that is an issue with the programming. I think coming back from what we've had to this, there were a lot of things that were riding on it. So, one of the things that really helps to shape my opinions on either events or games or whatever is the overall importance of what's going on. I think that the test got done, did what it needed to do. We saw, we clicked off all the boxes that we needed to check off, which is important.
All of
But
them.
this was also getting back to what the games used to be. We have the community back. We're out in front of everybody again. We have live competition again. It's not, just 5 people by themselves. It's not online only. It's back and it's live and it's real. And I think it was great for what it was. I really honestly do. And I was really happy to be able to, to watch it and cheer on. And there was a lot of great races, a lot of great stories in it. So I think as we, if we go to give it our Element 26 thumb setup on this, I would have to give it like a solid 1.5. I don't know if I would say it's one of my tops, top 3, like you were saying, but I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I really liked the programming. There's just a handful of those things that I think were almost attempts to try to make it something that just missed a little bit. But I thought that there were some of my all-time favorite events were in this. So I a very solid 1.5.
I'm going through my Rolodex of my favorite, I think, is 2014. 2017, 2018 are awesome too. I don't know if I'd put that ahead of those. So, okay, top 5.
Okay.
It's in my top 5, but you're right. There was a very bias on pulling. This year. So there was too much pulling relative to the amount of squatting or below parallel work we did. I think we gave a few different options on the ski erg event 5 to do burpees instead. So you get some pushing there and keep the monostructural element. What was another one that we had in there? That one, and just kind of the option that we had is dropping the chest bars and doing something with squats and rowing in multiple rounds, but still lunging your way down, something like that. That quick little fix, I think, puts it into even more balance, and I love it even more.
Totally.
But yeah, so I'll give it 1. What'd you say? 1.5?
I said 1.5.
I like it a little bit. I'll give it 1 3/4.
Ooh.
1 3/4, where double thumbs up for me is 2014, 2017, 2018. Those are ones that I had full go. So, but I'll say top 5. And look, it was great to be back. I think Justin Medeiros is a wonderful champion. I think he's great for the community. Come
on, man. Hey, man.
If you're to say and say, if someone could be a people's champion, now I know that was reserved for Carrie Kepler back in the day, if any CrossFit Central people are listening to, but she never won anything. So, but she was freaking stud, right?
Yeah.
And along with, those Keplers back in the day. And, but yeah, he was just, he's 22, which is crazy.
Dude, I watch him and I listen to him and I watch his mullet flip around and I just see big puppy dog lab. That was awesome. That was awesome. That was so cool. That was great. I'm just so happy to be here. And it's sincere, man. It's sincere. Yes. It's sincere youth happiness. It's not I knew it was going to be here. Screw you guys. It was the dude is stoked. It's rad.
He earned that shit.
Oh, hell yeah.
He went out there every event and went out there and just earned it. And it was cool. I think it was fun too, is he's happy, he's fun. He's kind of a man of the people a little bit more than in champions of years past, even with Rich and Matt. And Ben is so reserved and quiet and private. He's kind of all right, you won.
Yeah.
But that was really cool. And then, Tia, you start to realize she may not be the most dominant female CrossFitter of all time, but the most dominant CrossFitter of all time.
Yeah.
In fact, she said she's coming back, fired me the F up for next year. Right? I'm all right, let's plant that flag. I'm the best ever.
Yep.
Ever. Of any CrossFitter ever to do it. And I love that. And that's one of the favorite things about this sport, is that everyone is on the same playing field between men and women.
Yep.
It's all the same. Just who's the best. And I think that, Tia's, you might be the best.
Sorry about that, Matt. You just wanted to be all, family man or whatever. I'm gonna go become the best.
All right. Well, that'll do it. Bill 1.5, me 1 3/4. We both loved it. It was great to analyze. We can't wait to do more stuff with you guys coming up on this. Our Great in the Games athletes will be looking at training camps, maybe who had the best weekend, as well as, maybe we look at the virtual games.
Oh, we got to do that.
So,
Yeah.
Bill, good to see you, buddy.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening. Take care.